Angeba Sojola here. In this video, we'll particularly be dealing with the first industrial revolution, right? Where it started and how it actually developed. Now, the first industrial revolution took a period of around about 100 years. This is a period from 1750-ish to around about 1860, right? Now, and when you look at this aspect, right, basically, the first industrial revolution had two aspects to it, right? The first aspect was driven by particularly the textile industry. Now, inventions, equipment, and machinery and tools were developed around the textile industry to make certain processing of textile simpler. The textile which was specifically used was cotton, right? Now, when you look at cotton, a number of machines developed around it, and these machines were particularly powered by a water wheel. Now, how a water wheel works is basically building a factory, right, next to a stream or a river that is flowing, right? And when the tide is high in the river, the wheel tends to flow faster, right? And when the wind flows faster and you attach that to a gear mechanism, you can actually move the power to where you need it. The basic power was moved to the equipment and machinery which was developed in the textile industry to refine and make it easier to deal with cotton. So the power source of the first industrial revolution was basically water. That was the first thing that we need to look at. The second part is machinery developed particularly in the textile industry, right? So when we look at the first phase of the first industrial revolution, it was basically driven by water and textile inventions in the textile industry, right? Now, when we look at the second stage of the first industrial revolution, basically it was driven by two things. The first major thing which drove the second phase of the first industrial revolution was the discovery of coal, right? Now, the discovery of coal allowed a spree of inventions, right, to come in terms of using heat. Number one, boilers were developed to create steam engines, right? Steam engines basically were the engine of the first industrial revolution. So, and another thing which made this a very possible idea in Britain is that coal discoveries were made, and there was a very abundant coal reserves, right, which rendered this a very cheap source of energy, right? Now, with the cheap source of energy, right, and the planning of the steam engine, the basic invention of the steam engine, right, something called a water pump was developed. Now, it was developed because of when you dug coal, right, from coal collieries or mines, a lot of water used to flood the coals, and you needed some sort of mechanism to help you pull out the water. So that's how basically the steam engine developed. The steam engine was developed for it to power a pump. That pump was to move water out of the coal industry. So the steam was created through the coal, which was needed to be mined. So it was a nice, cheap process, right, of industrialization process, right? So basically, with the discovery of coal, right, it meant that you could melt certain things. Your iron, right? Iron production increased, right? Now, with the increase of iron production, certain things were created. The first thing which was created was the railway, right? Which with the railway, when the railway came by, the steam train came about, right? When the steam train came about, then the steamboat also came about. All of the steam technology was powered by coal and water. So that's why I'm saying it was the second stage of the industrial revolution, right? Of it was the second phase of the first industrial revolution, right? So it was coal, the discovery of coal, right? Now the increase in production of iron, so metal products started to come out, right? And the train was developed, meaning that goods could be transported throughout Britain, right? With the steamboat, it means goods could be sent out to the rest of the world, right? So basically, that was the mechanization which came about in the first industrial revolution, which was based in the country called Britain, right? So, another very interesting thing about the first industrial revolution was basically the perfection and the improvement of the printing press, right? Now, communication is another very important aspect of the industrial revolution, because when you have to move people, goods, and everything, right, using your train and everything, your train and your steamboat, you needed to communication to happen to facilitate whatever processes and whatever logistics was going to partake in that situation. So basically, this is the first industrial revolution. For more information, please watch the next video.